The stock is trading down just a touch this morning on the Xetra DAX. The sense from analysts seems to be that specialty chemicals was an area of weakness. Can you give us your sense of the quality of these earnings that you've just delivered?
Overall, I think in 2017 we had excellent earnings, tremendous growth and also earnings growth. As you said, mostly in the chemicals field, where we had better margins and very good operating rates. These higher costs translated into higher raw material costs also for our downstream businesses, and they suffered quite a bit under margin pressure. And we saw this also in Q4. However, what is important going into 2018, we are pretty determined to improve these earnings in the downstream businesses considerably.
How long do you think the single currency, the euro, is going to be a headwind for you for?
It started really to bite in Q4, and I think it's going to continue in 2018. It's really one of the external factors we cannot control, and probably our earnings will suffer a little bit due to currency pressures. However, we want to overcome this and grow earnings in 2018.
Well, I'm just curious to know, when you plug numbers into your model, so we've got 123 now, euro dollar. Are you anticipating that that's going to get a little fiercer, that headwind, or do you think we kind of roughly stay where you are? I'm curious to know what the baseline is.
Actually, nobody of us knows. We simply assume that 120 is probably a good number for 2018. It might have to be adjusted going forward, but from today's point of view, we think this is reasonable. We also have to look at the oil price. The oil price is important for us, both in oil and gas, but also as a cost factor in chemicals. And there we assume that $65 per barrel Brent could be a reasonable number for 2018. However, we always know we have to be prepared for any kind of surprises. Same as happened in 2017.
It's interesting. So you bring up the oil and gas issue. If we stick around kind of $65 a barrel on Brent, does that change your timing vis-a-vis kind of the exit from that side of the business? I'm just curious to know how the kind of the international price will feed into your strategic thinking surrounding the structure of the portfolio.
Now, obviously, our intention to team up with LetterOne and dare to form the mid-sized E&P company in Europe is completely unrelated to any foresight of the oil price. And actually, we don't know exactly what the oil price will be 10 years down the road. We have assumptions put into our models. What is more important, this is a very complementary combination of our strengths and will form a very, very interesting company in Europe, which really has also a USP in the capital market, mid-sized, pure E&P company, completely focused on this business, where we want to continue to grow, and we will continue also to invest in that business then, however, as a joint venture.
Kurt, I'm curious. I'm kind of fascinated to know how the last year has progressed for you. You've decided to move out of the oil and gas industry. You've just talked a little bit about that. You're moving into the seeds business. These are huge strategic changes for BASF, which has been rock solid in terms of its kind of portfolio structure for really quite a long time. Why now? What was the kind of... Why have you decided that now is the right moment? And what gave you the kind of freedom to be able to act, to make these huge changes?
When you look back at our portfolio development over time, it has changed quite dramatically, sometimes in smaller steps, sometimes in bigger steps. The acquisition, the probable acquisition of the Bayer seed business is a good step for BASF, which will form another strong competitor in that field. And we already have very, very good research in the seed field, trade research. So we can combine our expertise in that field. Oil and gas, you have also to grab opportunities, and now is an opportunity to team up with LetterOne, which again, from my point of view, is a very, very sensible business combination. In the chemical business, these events come from time to time. Sometimes it's a little bit slower, sometimes it's a little bit faster. But overall, what is important, there is a constant change of our portfolio, also divesting a couple of businesses which we don't like anymore.
You've been at this business for quite a while. You were about to hand it over to Mr. Brudermüller. In what stage do you think you are handing it over? What are the challenges that the company now faces? What are the opportunities that are out there? Just give us the kind of situation report as this handover is about to happen.
A quick elevator pitch. My intention always has been to hand over the business in a better shape than what I got, and it was already in a good shape when I took over from Jürgen Hambrecht 7 years ago. And Martin Breuer will make up his mind with his team what he wants to do. I think the company has evolved in a very systematic and, you might say, solid way, but I think also in an intelligent way. We are a research-driven, innovation-driven company. This is really the core of our competitive strengths. We have a couple of challenges ahead of us. And what we always know in chemicals, it's never going to happen as you expect. This is always a bumpy ride. Sometimes it's better, sometimes a little bit more difficult. So I assume the next couple of years will also be very interesting ones.
Yeah, and certainly cyclical. A couple of quick kind of political questions. One, what do you think of the Trump infrastructure plan? And B, do you worry that a lack of German government being formed is going to impede the operations in that country?
I think the infrastructure plan is a good one if you really know how to finance it and if there are resources available to put the infrastructure in place. So there's, I think, a bit of risk also to drive up inflation in the United States. And with that, also interest rates. And that could have a dampening effect on the economy. German government, we have to wait another couple of days until we know whether the Social Democrats make up their mind to join the government. We all hope that this will not be just a continuation of what we had over the last couple of years. There has to be a renewed spirit to really increase competitiveness of our industry and our economy. Looking at the new cabinet of Chancellor Merkel, her side of the cabinet, I think there's some reason to be optimistic. But at the end of the day, it will be a combination of two parties who for the last 12 months have struggled quite a bit with each other. And we need to see how this will now evolve over the next 2 to 3 years.